Yo, what is up guys? So today we're showing off the new Jinzo Lair Exceeds monster. This card is going to be the new boss monster currently of the newer Jinzo archetype. Now Jinzo is all about stopping the back row, specifically the trap cards, which honestly, trap cards are not super popular in 2020. But if you do like traps, drop a like on this video, and I'm not talking about those purple cards in Yugioh Kappa. Anyways, what it really comes down to is Jinzo being able to go ahead and snatch steal a monster. Unfortunately, you can't do anything with the monster other than link it off, synchro with it, which the Jinzo archetype doesn't really support synchros. We're mixing it with the Meklords to make it a little bit more viable. So what it comes down to is the Jinzo archetype is able to go ahead and take a monster and again move it out of the way. So he's going to go ahead and attempt to actually pop the Jinzo, but Menacing Jinzo can actually have a quick effect where you're going to be able to special summon a Jinzo. We're using some of the other cards in the Meklord archetype to have a little bit more consistency to get the Psycho Bounder. So he's going to reborn, grab back the Menacing Jinzo, and try to crash into the other Jinzo, because if you guys have played against Zodiac, they do actually have a lot of back row. That's one of the archetypes that will have a decent amount of back row if they try to play like Zoo Control, but nonetheless he's going to go ahead and pop that, and he's going to be able to keep his Jinzo. So we're going to go ahead and see once again the engine of the Meklords to go for Gear Gigant X or Platinum Gadget, which will allow him to go ahead and make use of Psycho Bounder, which is one of the most important cards in the newer Jinzo archetype. Now we're seeing the Jinzo Lair going to go ahead and snatch steal the Dryden over here, and this is going to go ahead and allow him to go ahead and make a game with, of course, Triskalia, which has massive amounts of attack and it can attack 3 times on monsters with 7,000 attack. I mean, you could basically win in a tag duel. With this effective Jinzo Lair, it does, again, just have too many downsides. It does have another effect, though, that I do want to go over really quick, and I'll show you guys another play. But basically, this is the newest card, and what it allows you to do is you can target a face-up monster your opponent controls, you take control of it until the end phase. It cannot attack or activate its effects. That's the worst part. But if a trap card is on the field, you get to tribute a monster, and if you do, destroy one face-up card on the field. So the whole idea is to go ahead and maybe take your opponent's monster, and then eventually you can maybe get rid of something in the background. Like, it's just not the most viable thing. It does have to be a face-up card on the field, and it requires you to take control of an opponent's face-up monster. And again, because you're unable to attack with it, technically you can still OTK quite easy if you run like limiter removal and stuff like that, but I just don't see it being like an S tier deck in 2020. Again, most people aren't really playing too many traps. The only traps that really see some play are evenly and, let's say, like impermanent, which would stop certain cards from going off in the first place. But nonetheless, Jinzo is a very, very legacy boss monster card. Nonetheless, they're trying to support it. You could maybe go off with, let's say, Future Fusion, but again, most of those plays wouldn't be that viable in 2020. So Menacing Jinzo is quite great because it just allows you to go right into Jinzo. Unfortunately, he got hit by the Call by the Grave. But again, Menacing Jinzo lets you go right into dodging something and then bringing out Jinzo. But again, at the end of the day, Jinzo doesn't have the amount of attack, doesn't have the amount of negations that normal decks would be able to even provide, because again, with a lot of decks, they just won't simply be playing enough back row to make the use out of Jinzo for the most part. Then we're going to once again see the Gear Gigant X, and then it's going to go ahead and add the Meklord army. So what you're trying to do with this build over here is basically have both of these in your hand. This card will go ahead and let you go into Platinum Gadget, and Psycho Bounder will let you extend your combos. So let's go right into, again, Gear Gigant X or Platinum Gadget. Psycho Bounder going to be coming out, adding the any card that has Jinzo. And then you can go ahead and push for game quite easy with the Meklord. The additional Triskalia is going to go ahead and allow you to push for game a little bit easier. And again, if you happen to have options to go for it, the new boss monster, it is there. Honestly, there's not too much to this deck, and I'll give you guys the deck profile if you guys want to go and check out the build that was shown off courtesy of AzneyesWhitedragon. Once again, shout out to you, man, for hooking me up with the gameplay. I just don't see it becoming as powerful as I wanted to. I might make it and build myself and get you guys some gameplay with the Future Fusion build, but again, it's a little bit slower because obviously you have to wait. Future Fusion, you have to... It's not even the effect of getting the Fusion monster out that I would want with the Future Fusion. Obviously, if it comes out, you can go Chimera and one-shot your opponent, but it has to stay up on the board for one turn before you're even able to go ahead and send those monsters, because the newer Jinzo support, not the newest one, because there's several times that they added like Jinzo. They've tried to make like Jinzo an archetype, like with Jinzo Lord, but again, it's just not that viable again in 2020. But One thing you can do with future fusion plays is use cards like Jinzo Returner, where you're able to go ahead and when this card is sent to the graveyard, you can special summon Jinzo from your graveyard, but you destroy it during your end phase. You can actually send a bunch of these to your graveyard, and then the whole idea is to, again, you could potentially make Jinzo layers and maybe take your opponent's monsters, but again, the problem is that you can't attack with it. So then you'd have to link off with their monster, plus have other monsters or synchro with it in order for it to be viable. I wish that it said if your opponent had a trap card that take control was a quick effect or something. It needs to be a little bit better, and I think that's what the Jinzo archetype would need to make it a little bit better. But I just wanted to go ahead and mention that the Jinzo Returner build might be something that you guys can take a look at, and again, I might make it later down the line and start streaming it and see what we can do with it. Again, it would require my opponent to not get rid of my Future Fusion, which, let's be honest, you can't have Future Fusion stay up on board. It's just going to go away most of the time. But if you do get to have it survive, you could actually pull out triple Jinzos, which is awesome. And then on top of that, you actually have access to Menacing Jinzo, which will then let you go into crazy Link monsters. But again, would you rather go for a Jinzo layer, or you can just make, since this is a generic one, you could technically make it in other decks too. But if we look at Bouncer, this card would just be a better option. It is going to be another generic rank 6 XYZ monster, which is kind of nice. This is once per turn during either player's turn when anything is activating its effect. You get to attach a material, you get to negate the effect. It doesn't destroy the monster, but you do get to burn them for 1,000 points of damage. And I think negating effects of monsters is much more important than this, and this doesn't. I wish this stopped traps. Like, it doesn't even stop traps, so you lose out on the ability that Jinzo had when it came out. I guess Jinzo's supposed to kind of negate them, and then you're supposed to get rid of them. Again, it's just too problematic, I think, for this day and age to be viable. But I just wanted to mention some of the other cards that could be added into the deck if we go to, like, you know, some rank 6 that would be a little bit better, because turn 1 Jinzo layer passes. It's not that great, but nonetheless, let's go ahead and go over the deck profile here. So, 2 copies of Triskalia over here, and then 2 copies of Menacing Jinzo. I really like this. It's just, if a trap is on the field in the graveyard, you can just special summon it, and its level becomes 6 until the end of the turn, and then it has that dodge ability to go right into Jinzo. And then you can destroy all trap cards your opponent controls if those cards are set. You reveal them. So, you do happen to have that ability to pop, again, back row, but again, most back row will prevent your monsters from coming out in the first place. Then we have 1 copy, of course, Jinzo, because you can special it from the field or graveyard. And then 3 copies of Psycho Giga Cyber. If your opponent controls more spells and traps, you can go and just special summon. Again, it's supposed to support just being able to get out, of course, the rank 6 plays over here. And then when it declares an attack on an opponent's effect monster we control Jinzo, you can tribute it, and then you get to place that in their spell and trap zone as a continuous trap card, which is kind of an interesting effect you didn't get to see in the gameplay. I did show it off during my previous one, but again, it's not the most meta of things. You have to play against like lower tier decks for this deck to actually be viable. And we have 2 copies of the Meklords Weisel, and then we have 3 copies of Psycho Bounder, which is supposed to help out the Jinzo archetype. Then 3 copies of gold and silver. Again, it lets you go ahead and go into these plays, and as well as the Platinum Gadget to extend your combos and be a little bit faster. Then you can summon the Giga Psycho, the Psycho Bounder, as well as the plays with the Menacing Jinzo. And then you have 3 copies of the Obligado over here. That's a special summon doubles, and then you have your other Meklords that you just play literally just for the other effects. And then the Jinzo Ejector over here, so it becomes Jinzo while it's on the field in the graveyard. So you can technically go for this card as a special summon because it could be level 4 at the right time. But you can tribute this card, add a Jinzo monster from your deck to your hand except for itself, and then you get to check out all of your opponent's back rows, and then special summon a Jinzo monsters from your hand after the number of trap cards revealed. Like, if you can reveal like 4 back row, then special summon 4, it'd be cool. But again, Yu-Gi-Oh is not like this. We're not in the format of everyone main decks double bottomless, torrential, and some of the solemns. It's just not something we do in 2020. And it was Synchro Absorption, 2 copies of Granule, and then 3 copies of Law of the Cosmos. This is a fantastic card for the Jinzo archetype. And then Cyber Energy Shock, it just lets you negate a card. This is like, it can help because it technically has Jinzo in the card's text, but nonetheless, it's just, again, if this card came out and it let you search out this card specifically, or if it added like double Jinzo cards, and if you can search out any 2 cards with Jinzo in its text, again, it'd be so much better. But it's just not there right now. And then these are just more for the Meklord archetype, so you can go off with your plays. Then of course you have to play trap cards, or your opponent has to play trap cards, which is problematic with the Jinzo archetype because I mean, yeah, of course you can play trap cards, but sometimes if you don't draw them, your opponent might not play any traps in their deck, other than impermanents and evenly matched. But 3 and 3 of those, so you guys can have a little more consistency. Then we have 2 copies of Jinzo Lair, 2 copies of Yugioh X, Castell, we got Evilstorm Exciton Knight, Decorator Emerald, Boral Sword, Appaloosa, Nightmare Unicorn, Phoenix, 2 copies of Platinum Gadget, Cerberus, and Masquerena. Again, this could be another great card if your opponent is at low life points. This card is absolutely amazing because they just burn and they just lose. So you can get to effect, you know, two times, and that's 2,000 points of damage. So overall, my review on the newest Jinzo stuff is it's just not that viable. Again, even if I was to play, let's say, like a Future Fusion Jinzo build, I would rather make multiple copies of Photon Strike Balancer or other, you know, what other rank 6 exists? I actually haven't checked this out. I probably should have done this before the video, Kappa, but there's just probably better options. Isn't Naruto pretty good? You could negate a spell or trap if also negated monster effects. You just have, what I'm saying is there's just better options for rank 6s in the game. And I think that the Jinzo, as far as right now, is just not ready yet to be a meta. But those are my thoughts. You guys can let me know yours down below. But hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, drop a like on it. If you're new here, subscribe, turn on that bell so you don't miss out on more Yu-Gi-Oh content. And if you guys would like to send me other replays of other Jinzo builds, I would love to see them, or just anything else that we haven't covered. But I think we've covered all of the newer archetypes other than the Time Wizard, which we'll be doing very soon. But thanks for tuning in, guys, and I'll catch you in the next one. Have a good one. I'm out. Peace.